told you that in 2026, the absolute best way for a car maker to, get an extra 130 kilometers of range out of an electric vehicle is to actually make the car less powerful.
That sounds totally
It
backwards.
really does. It sounds like a typo in a brochure. Like somebody messed up the spreadsheet.
Right, but it's actually this ruthless, highly calculated engineering gambit. I mean, it completely flips the traditional automotive playbook on its head.
Because for decades, if you paid more money, you got a bigger engine, more horsepower.
Exactly. And now we're kind of entering this era where you pay a premium for restraint
Mm.
because ultimately, the ultimate luxury right now is distance.
It's all about range. So we are getting right into the weeds today because we're looking at a super competitive arena. Imagine you are listening right now and you have a budget of around 30,000 euros or maybe sub 25,000 pounds in the UK.
Which is a very real, very common budget for a lot of people right now.
Right. And you want an electric car, but you absolutely refuse to buy one of those, like, city toys.
Yeah, the glorified golf carts.
Exactly. The ones marketers try to sell as these cute lifestyle accessories. You want a real car that you can actually live with every single day.
And that price bracket is just the ultimate crucible for automakers right now. It's really where EVs are transitioning from being these early adopter novelties into mandatory everyday utility.
Yeah, it's the mainstream tipping point.
So to break down how manufacturers are actually tackling this, we are synthesizing a really diverse stack of international sources today.
We've got a lot to go through.
We do. We've got a highly technical review from the German YouTube channel Motorkunst, some really sharp automotive journalism from the Dutch site autointernational.nl and the UK's Autocar. Plus, we're pulling hard data from an Italian pricing spec sheet and a strategic technical comparative report.
And from the second I started sifting through these sources, I realized, we're not just comparing spreadsheets here.
No, not at all.
This is a massive clash of philosophies in what the industry calls the B SUV segment, which is essentially those elevated, subcompact crossovers.
Right, the really popular footprint right now.
Yeah, so in one corner we have the Kia EV2, and in the other we have the Renault 4 E-Tech. And that German source, Motorkunst, frames this perfectly. They call it Kopfball versus Herzensfall.
Head versus heart.
Head versus heart. And that framing really dictates everything, from the battery chemistry all the way down to, like, the door handles.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Before we even pull up the pricing data, we have to examine the architectural intent. Like, what are these machines projecting when you physically walk up to them?
Let's start with the Kia.
So Kia is building the EV2 in Zelina, Slovakia. They're using this cost-optimized iteration of their eGMP platform. It measures about 4.05 meters long, and the sources keep using this specific phrase, shrunken flagship.
Shrunken flagship is such a great way to put it, honestly.
It really paints a picture.
Because they gave it that bold, boxy tiger face design. It doesn't look cute. It doesn't look playful at all. It honestly looks like they took their massive, super premium EV9 SUV and just hit it with a shrink ray.
Yeah, and the technical report points out that this boxy aesthetic isn't just a stylistic choice, right? It's an integrated aerodynamic packaging solution.
Wait, how is a box aerodynamic?
Well, that's the thing. In the past, to make a car aerodynamic, you had to give it that teardrop shape. But a teardrop completely ruins the headroom in the back seat.
Right, your tall friends are always miserable in the back.
Exactly.
Yep.
So Kia utilizes what's essentially a brick shape, but they use these advanced air curtains and underbody airflow management to push the wind really cleanly around the flat surfaces.
So they cheat the wind.
Yeah. You get the aerodynamic efficiency you need for an EV, but you don't sacrifice a single millimeter of internal cubic volume.
That's brilliant. So the Kia is, it's kind of like a sharply tailored, waterproof techwear jacket.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right, it's all sharp angles, engineered for pure utility. It tells the world, hey, I'm a pragmatic, forward-thinking adult.
And then you look at the Renault 4 E-Tech.
Totally different vibe.
Completely. It's slightly longer at 4.14 meters, and it is just aggressively leaning into nostalgia.
It really is a modern homage to the classic 1960s Renault 4.
Yeah, but the German reviewer makes a really vital distinction here. They point out that this isn't just some cheap retro gag.
Right, it's not a gimmick.
No, Renault is using its heritage intelligently. They're trying to inject character into a market that, let's be honest, often feels incredibly sterile.
I mean, the Renault literally offers recycled denim interior options.
Which is wild.
It is, and you can get this plan-side canvas roof. I feel like it's practically begging you to take it on a road trip to the coast. It's like a vintage fleece-lined denim jacket,
Yeah, Renault is betting heavily that in a world of computers on wheels, buyers crave a vehicle that feels human and approachable.
Which brings us to a really critical transition, I think. The exterior footprint sets the emotional tone, sure, but the interior packaging dictates your actual daily reality.
That's how you live with the car.
Exactly. And this is where we see how those two divergent philosophies translate into livable space. Let's talk dimensions.
Okay, so Renault starts with an immediate physical advantage here. They have a wheelbase of 2.62 meters compared to the Kia's 2.57 meters.
And for anyone wondering, a longer wheelbase, which is just the distance between the front and rear wheels, almost always translates to more passenger space in the cabin.
Right. And Renault couples that with a massive 420-liter boot.
Which is huge. A 420-liter boot in a vehicle of this size is cavernous, but there is a glaring mechanical limitation here that I just don't
The
understand.
seats?
Yes, the rear seats in the Renault 4 are totally static. They fold down, obviously, but they
Mm,
do not slide.
yeah, it's a choice.
This genuinely baffles me, and the Dutch source, Auto-International.nl, rightly calls this out.
Great.
Renault builds the smaller Twingo E-Tech, right?
Yeah, their city car.
And they put sliding rear seats in the Twingo as a standard feature. Why on earth would they leave such a massive opportunity for flexibility out of the larger Renault 4?
Well, it likely comes down to platform cost constraints. Integrating sliding rails into the floor pan, it requires structural reinforcement.
Which adds weight and money.
Exactly, weight and money.
Yeah.
So Renault just opted to maximize the static cargo volume instead. But as you were hinting, Kia took a completely different approach to that exact same engineering problem.
They really did. Kia counters Renault's longer wheelbase with just sheer modular brilliance. They offer an optional four-seat configuration where the rear seats independently slide and recline.
That's a huge deal in this segment.
It is. It allows the EV2 to scale its boot space from 321 liters all the way up to 403 liters.
And the technical report emphasizes the ingenuity here. By utilizing those sliding seats, the Kia EV2 can offer, a standard subcompact cargo experience, or if you slide them all the way back, it achieves CSUV levels of legroom.
Wait, really? So it punches a full-size class up?
Yeah, it competes with vehicles a full category larger. You are dynamically choosing, essentially on the fly, whether you need to transport flat-pack furniture or if you want to give your adult passengers executive-level comfort.
I love that. And Kia completely schools Renault on another practical front, too, the frunk.
Ah, the front trunk.
Yes, the EV2 has a 15-liter frunk under the hood. Renault offers absolutely nothing up there.
And, 15 liters sounds kind of negligible, right? Until you actually live with an electric vehicle in a rainy climate.
Oh, the wet cable problem.
Exactly. If you're charging at a public station in November, your charging cable is going to be wet, it's going to be cold, and it's probably covered in street grit.
Yeah, it's gross.
You absolutely do not want to throw that dirty cable into the main 420-liter boot of your Renault right alongside your groceries or a clean suitcase.
No way.
So Kia's dedicated front totally isolates that mess. It is a hallmark of engineers who actually drive EVs daily.
That makes so much sense. Let's shift to the cockpits, though, because Kia continues that theme of practical engineering with what the sources call pragmatic haptics.
I love that term.
Right. So they give you a triple screen setup. You get a 12.3-inch instrument cluster, a dedicated 5.3-inch screen just for the climate control, and then a 12.3-inch central touchscreen. But, and this is the key, they kept physical buttons for the things you use constantly.
Because they recognize the cognitive load of driving.
Exactly.
When you are navigating heavy traffic, you really shouldn't have to dig through 3 digital submenus just to turn on your heated seats.
It's dangerous.
Right. Muscle memory relies on physical, tactile feedback. The German reviewer specifically praised this intuitive usability, noting that a lot of consumers are just experiencing major touchscreen fatigue right now.
Which is funny because Renault leans completely into the touchscreen software as a service ecosystem.
You really do.
They use an OpenR Link system with Google built natively into the car. The screens are slightly smaller. I think it's a 10.2-inch center screen. But you get this digital avatar named Reno, and all your maps, your Spotify, your smart home stuff, it's all perfectly synced.
Which forces the buyer to make a pretty big choice about their digital lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want your vehicle to be a tactile, highly functional machine like the Kia? Or do you want it to feel like a seamless, logged-in extension of your smartphone?
Which is exactly what Renault is delivering.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look underneath all of this packaging, because the interior dictates comfort, obviously. But the battery chemistry dictates your actual freedom.
This is so important.
And the chemical engineering choices here reveal two totally different risk management strategies from the brands.
I would argue this is the most consequential distinction in the entire comparative report. Kia is deploying a dual chemistry strategy.
Okay, break that down for us.
So for their base standard range model, they utilize a 42.2 kilowatt-hour LFP battery. That stands for lithium iron phosphate. But for their long-range model, they switch entirely to a 61.0 kilowatt-hour NMC battery, which is nickel manganese cobalt.
Okay, and Renault goes all in on NMC chemistry for both its options. They have a 40 kilowatt-hour urban range and a 52 kilowatt-hour comfort range.
Right, all NMC.
So we need to explain how these chemistries actually function out in the real world, because the difference isn't just about the price tag.
Not at all. Let's look at the mechanism. LFP batteries, the ones Kia uses for the base model, they're incredibly cost-effective. They're structurally durable. You could charge them to 100% every single day without degrading the battery life.
Which is great for daily driving.
It is. But they suffer significantly from a phenomenon known as cold soak.
Okay, how does cold soak actually work? Like, why does the temperature matter so much to the battery?
So it really comes down to the viscosity of the electrolyte fluid inside the battery cells. Think of the lithium ions trying to move back and forth between the anode and the cathode to create electricity.
Okay.
At room temperature, they move totally freely. But in sub-zero temperatures, the electrolyte in an LFP battery thickens up dramatically. It's basically the difference between trying to run through a swimming pool full of water versus a pool full of cold syrup.
Oh, wow. That sounds terrible for efficiency.
It is. The internal resistance spikes, meaning your charging speed plummets and your overall range just drops off a cliff.
But the NMC batteries, the ones Renault uses across the board, and that Kia saves for its top-tier model, they are much more resilient to that cold weather thickening, right?
Precisely. NMC chemistry maintains its internal ion flow far better in freezing conditions, so it's kind of like winter gear.
Yeah, I was just thinking that LFP is like a great windbreaker, It's perfectly fine most of the time, but NMC is that heavy, insulated down parka you absolutely need when the temperature drops below zero.
That's a perfect analogy. And this is where the sources flag a pretty glaring lack of transparency from the automakers.
What are they hiding?
Well, neither Kia nor Renault officially publishes their winter charging curves.
Oh, of course.
But the chemistry itself tells the story. If you live in an alpine region, or maybe the Nordics, Renault's NMC-only approach just provides far greater predictability in January.
That is such a huge factor for buyers to consider.
Yeah.
But that brings us back to the wild paradox we started the show with. Let's look at Kia's range numbers, because this is fascinating.
It really is.
The base EV2 with the LFP battery gives you 317 kilometers on the WLTP cycle, which, for everyone listening, is just the standard European test for range. And that base model uses a 147 horsepower motor.
Okay.
But the long-range version, which gives you a massive 453 kilometers of range, it actually drops the horsepower down to 134.
Yeah, they dropped the power output from 110 kilowatts down to 100 kilowatts.
Yeah.
Kia's engineers are playing a brilliant game of efficiency here.
But I don't get it. How does dropping a mere 13 horsepower magically yield such massive range gains?
So it alters the torque mapping and the inverter efficiency. An electric motor has a specific RPM band where it operates at its absolute peak efficiency.
Right.
By capping the maximum power output, they ensure the motor isn't drawing these massive inefficient spikes of current from the battery during hard acceleration. It forces the hardware to stay within its optimal thermal and electrical sweet spot, particularly at sustained highway speeds.
Ah, okay. So it's kind of like riding a bicycle and just keeping your pedal cadence super steady rather than sprinting and exhausting yourself immediately.
Exactly. Kia recognizes that the long-range buyer is likely a fleet operator, or maybe someone with a heavy highway commute. They're optimizing every single electron for distance.
And it works. I mean, they achieve a class-leading 453 kilometers. That outpaces Renault's maximum range of 409 kilometers by a solid 44 kilometers.
It's a big win for Kia on paper.
But if you're on the highway and you actually need to overtake a semi-truck, the Renault Long Range with its 150 horsepower is going to feel significantly punchier, right?
Oh, absolutely. It offers superior power-to-weight performance. Renault prioritizes a dynamic driving feel, whereas Kia just prioritizes reaching the destination without stopping.
Well, let's talk about stopping.
Yeah.
And the charging infrastructure, because time is money.
Right.
Both vehicles can do a 10% to 80% DC fast charge in about 30 minutes, hitting speeds around 100 kilowatts, so they're tied at the fast charger.
Yep. Pretty standard.
But AC charging, like when you plug in at the grocery store or maybe at the office, is a totally different story.
It is. So both cars come standard with an 11 kilowatt onboard charger,
Okay.
but Kia offers an optional 22 kilowatt AC charger.
Which is pretty rare in this segment.
It is. And if your local European city grid supports 22 kilowatt public posts, that option drops your AC charging time from over 4 hours down to just 2 hours and 35 minutes.
That's a game changer if you rely on public AC charging.
Huge difference.
But Renault completely ignores 22 kilowatt charging. Instead, they built these sophisticated mobilized V2G or vehicle-to-grid services directly into their 11 kilowatt hardware.
Yeah, they went a completely different route.
We hear a lot about V2L, vehicle to load, where you plug your laptop or a coffee maker into your car. But how does Renault's V2G actually function?
So V2G is fundamentally about energy arbitrage. The software in the Renault communicates intelligently with your local power grid.
Okay.
You can program the car to buy and store electricity at, say, 3:0 a.m. when wind power is abundant and the rates are dirt cheap.
Right.
Then, during peak demand at 6:00 p.m. when everyone's cooking dinner, the car can actually sell that stored energy back to the grid at a premium. It actively lowers your home energy bill.
Wow. So Renault is literally integrating the car into your household economy?
Exactly.
Okay, we have to look at the actual sticker prices now because the Italian spec sheet and the strategic report reveal this massive hidden pricing trap that completely flipped my perspective on these cars.
This is where it's crazy.
So at the entry level, Kia is the absolute undisputed winner. It starts at $26,600. It perfectly hits that affordable sub 25K pound target.
Yep, very rational.
Renault starts much higher at $29,500. You are effectively paying a $2,900 premium just for the retro charm and the Google software.
Right. And for the entry-level urban driver who relies on home charging, the Kia is just objectively the superior financial choice.
Totally.
You get the clever modular seating, you get more physical cargo space with the frunk, and you keep nearly 3,000 euros in your pocket.
But hold on, let me stop you right there because this is where the entire narrative inverts.
Yeah.
I was looking at the long-range trims and I was genuinely shocked by the math. Renault's 52 kilowatt-hour long-range model is priced at $32,993. Kia's 61 kilowatt-hour long-range model absolutely skyrockets to $38,350. Yep.
This is the pricing trap the technical report highlights.
Wait, doesn't this totally destroy Kia's entire pragmatic head-over-heart argument?
It kind of does.
I mean, the Kia is praised for being the budget-friendly, rational choice. But if I actually want to drive it long distances, I have to pay a $5,360 premium over the supposedly emotional Renault.
It's wild, but it exposes the hidden cost of Kia's dual chemistry strategy.
Oh, because of the battery swap?
Exactly. At the entry level, utilizing the cheaper LFP battery allows Kia to just ruthlessly undercut Renault. But to achieve that massive 453-kilometer range for the top tier, Kia has to switch to the highly expensive NMC battery chemistry.
Right.
And on top of that, they bundle it with premium trim features that artificially inflate the base cost of that larger battery model.
So the Renault 4, the car that literally sells itself on nostalgia and denim interiors, actually becomes the coldly rational economic choice for the highway driver.
It does. And a hyper-pragmatic Kia EV2 becomes an expensive luxury purchase at the top end.
That is fascinating. It really proves why you have to align a vehicle's specific tier with your actual everyday operational needs.
You really do. Because when calculating total cost of ownership, factoring in the purchase price, the energy efficiency, maybe the V2G savings, and depreciation, the Renault 4 Long Range just simply offers a better financial return for high-mileage drivers than the top-tier Kia.
Wow. We have covered an immense amount of ground today, unpacking the architecture, the chemistry, the economics. Let's synthesize the final verdict for you listening.
Sure.
The Kia EV2 emerges as the undisputed champion for the entry-level urban professional. If you are on a tight budget and you need maximum interior modularity, I mean, those sliding seats and that dedicated frunk are just game changers. The base EV2 is a masterclass in pragmatic, cost-efficient engineering.
I agree. But if you require a long-distance vehicle, the Renault 4 E-Tech flips the script entirely.
It really does.
It provides superior cold-weather battery stability across its entire lineup.
Yeah.
You get that deeply integrated digital ecosystem with Google and the V2G capabilities, and you get a far superior total cost of ownership in the long-range category.
Plus, it manages to deliver all of that while looking undeniably charming.
Right, it's just a great-looking car.
So, as electric vehicles inevitably reach parity in range and charging speeds over the next few years, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. Will the cars that survive be the ones with the most practical dimensions and rational engineering, like the Kia? Or will the winners be the ones that manage to make us feel something nostalgic and human, like the Renault?
It's a great point. In an industry that's increasingly dominated by software and wind tunnel aerodynamics, it really raises the question, is personality actually becoming a measurable performance metric?
I love that idea. Personality as a performance metric. We want to enthusiastically thank you for taking this deep dive with us today. We hugely appreciate your curiosity, and we invite you to think about which of these two paths to the future you would rather park in your own driveway.
The sharp, rational techwear or the warm, vintage denim?
We will catch you on the next one.